So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues. Thank you very much for joining us for this closing ceremony. As you will see, we have our dignitaries and authorities with us for this closing session. As we wrap up on the work of these very fruitful days of discussions, it's been copious information and different strategies that have been shared and that we're taking stock of. So I just wanted to make sure to let you know, as many of you have asked about the outcomes of the Policy Dialogue Forum, the report. So I just wanted to assure you that we are going to prepare a report. We have had wonderful note takers in every one of the breakout sessions. We have taken stock of all of the problematics, of all of the solutions that you have brought forth, of all of the partnerships that are beginning to forge their ideas in the making, and we're very, very happy to see, all of which we will be able to report to you after the Policy Dialogue Forum in a global report. But before we hear from our authorities and we hear of their final remarks and closing remarks, I just wanted to share with you that we have prepared a summary of the conversations. We have all been together in the plenary, so we know very much and very well what they were about, the topics that were discussed around teacher shortages, strengthening the professionalization, what are some of the levers for change, and what are some of the partnerships and international cooperation that we need to actually address the teacher shortages, to actually implement the recommendations of the high-level panel on the teaching profession. But to do that, I will call my colleague, Ms. Fatou Niang. She is the Senior Project Officer at the Teacher Task Force, who will give us a brief presentation of the breakout sessions and the content. Please, Fatou.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, participant. I hope that yesterday you enjoyed the gala and the Amapiano music. I did. So I have been tasked to summarize the key takeaways from this discussion that we have had. And it was a lot. It was quite exciting. And I would try to give justice to all the inputs, the discussion, the debates. And the first highlight that came in this, I need the PowerPoint. Thank you. So I tried to summarize the discussion points in 4 key highlights. And the first one is on teacher shortages. It's we all agreed during the conference in this forum that the world is experiencing teacher shortages, both in quantity and in quality. And this was made prominent by our global report on teachers that was produced by our team. So I'm doing a bit of publicity again. It's in our website, so you can access it. And also, we had the global, the recommendation of the high-level panel launched here, and we agree that the world has an issue with shortages in quality and quantity, and we can dive deeper a bit later. The second takeaway is that teachers and teaching should be considered as a global public good. This means that the management of teachers cannot be dictated by the market. The world needs to protect and value teaching and learning processes and safeguard its human-centric nature to meet education agenda of equity and quality. Third takeaway is, again, we have talked about it, nothing for teachers without teachers. Teacher union are here, they have reminded us teachers are here, and they told us, make sure that whatever you do for us is with us, and we agree to it. And the fourth highlight that came from the discussion was the need for strong international cooperation for the recognition, financing, and mobility of the profession. So we start with the first. Teacher shortages in quantity and quality. it has been said, and we have projected this figure over and over again, 44 million teachers are needed to achieve SDG 4.C. And in our region, in sub-Saharan Africa, we have a shortage of 15 million. And on top of that shortages, we have, in quantity, we have also an issue of quality, meaning that we have some of the teachers we already have actually lack the competencies and the training to be in classroom. And issues have also been shown about equity and ECC teachers being not even considered as teachers. They have different names, facilitators, community. We had issue with contract teachers, community teachers, and inequality on the deployment of teachers, mostly also in emergency situation. And the reason for these shortages, we have dived deep in it. It's working condition, lack of status in the profession, low salary, and which lead to high attrition. And teaching now, there is this perception that this profession is no longer attractive. And this is why we're here, and this is what we are trying to change. This is what our discussion are trying to help change and move forward. So what does it mean for policy and practices? For policy and practices, there is a need, and that came from the discussion, to have nuanced and holistic approaches for teachers. Also, salary are important, and we know that you need to be paid to do a certain job. Salary are not enough to actually attract people into the profession. You need all the incentive. You need to interconnect the dimension of teacher policies with initial education, offer support to newly qualified teachers, lifelong learning opportunity, and clear strategy for the career development. You need also to include large-scale global data collection to help monitor and target policies and funding better to reduce teacher shortages. And we have also talked about increasing domestic financing for teachers. Even though international financing is important, teacher expenditure linked to teacher are recurrent expenditure, which means that international financing can only take us so far. So there is a need to mobilize at the country level to resources to ensure that there are no disruption in the provision of education. On the next highlight of the discussion, I will talk about how we should consider teacher and teaching as a public global good. This means that the discussion in the beginning, I don't know, someone said in the plenary that teachers are like prophets. It means that the teachers that we have today are going to tell us the society and the children and the adult, mostly the adult, that we will have tomorrow. So we have to be really careful about, oh, I have the taste of my own medicine. So I will go fast. I will wrap up. So basically, changing the teacher profession and transforming it need to have an approach of the child right perspective. And also we need to consider mental health, psychosocial support, and social, emotional, and flexible learning to be essential aspect of teacher and teacher policy. The next point is, again, this was said a lot, nothing with teacher, for teacher without teacher. And it is that teacher policy must be done with teachers. But social dialogue has also to move beyond salary negotiation. The problem is not only about money, it's also about new issues that teachers face on the ground, such as climate change and technology, gender-based violence, equity. So the union also have to put this on the table when discussing with government, and not only about pecuniary issues. And the next one on the need for stronger international cooperation. And on this matter, the main takeaway was the need to capitalize on this momentum that we have here from the report on teachers and the high-level recommendation from high-level panel recommendation to have them moved into action item and monitor their progress forward. And also participants have talked a lot about the need to elevate the status of the 1966 recommendation, UNESCO and ILO recommendation on the status of teachers, and to increase country accountability, because for now, countries are just signing it, but each country can do basically the way they want, and it would be good to have it a bit more binding. That's what comes from the discussion, and also the need to update this recommendation to have an expanding focus on social justice and TVET and other issues like health and sanitation. Last, a call was made for international collaboration to support the mobilization of financing for teachers and produce better data. Thank you very much, and I will give the floor to Carlos. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatou. That was very complicated work to do, and thank you for that summary. Now, colleagues, we have heard during these 3 days, we have been reminded now of the conversations that we have had. What are the challenges at hand? I think it would be very important to hear from our leadership, from the Assistant Director General for Education at UNESCO, from Minister Motshekga, from our co-chair of the TTF, what is the way forward? Where do we see these partnerships that have been forged here today, the knowledge that we have produced, the data that we have at hand to actually implement the recommendations of the high-level panel on the one hand, address together the issue of teacher shortages. So without any further ado, please let me give the floor to Mrs. Stefania Giannini, Assistant Director General for Education of UNESCO. Please.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Exciting 3 days of hard working. I would say exciting gala dinner, Madam Minister. And I wish to, on behalf of this outstanding audience, I wish to once again reiterate our gratefulness for such a gracious hosting from your countries and commitment through singing, sharing, and being together. And that's what we are here. So I think the brilliant presentation provided just by colleagues makes my job easier, Carlos. But let me, from a UNESCO perspective, highlight a few points that I personally take from this rich discussion, given the richness of the plenaries, those plenaries I could attend and those which were kindly summarized for me by my colleagues, and given really the strong connections forged during this discussion, I would say that we are really ready. We are ready to make the 2024 year for education the AU in Africa, the year where the lessons of the masters, you remember the book I quoted at the beginning, can be the book, if you agree with me, and we are ready really to make all this rich knowledge part of our roadmap to accelerate SDG 4. And to that end, I wish to propose we adopt a very simple, let's say, threefold strategy that we are elaborating at UNESCO whenever it's about finding concrete solutions and a way to really ensure quality inclusive education for all by 2030. And it is based on three simple and crucial S. The first S is about C, knowledge, data, awareness of bottlenecks, of gaps, of problems we have to face. The second S is about standing, because we need, let's say, not to give up ever, even if some of these big issues and challenges seems absolutely overwhelming us as policymakers and politicians, ministers. I did your job, Madam Ministers, years ago in my country, and I would say that addressing effectively with concrete solutions the issue of the teaching profession to be valorized and dignified was my main challenge. It's about also our role as international organization. We are here to stand, we are here to advocate, we are here to convene this collective power. And the third, and the last, but not the least for sure, is about solving. It's about providing concrete solutions. Well, first the C. I think that throughout all the deliberation we are taking, it's become increasingly clear that these challenges are many and are complex. With the release of the first global teacher report from a Dessin, just mentioned in this nice wrap-up, teachers' shortages in quantity and quality, to enhancing recognition and support for the profession, dignify, diversify, and valorize. We know that the road ahead may seem really daunting, but in considering the takeaways from our plenaries and the whole debate here and breakout session, I think one key insight clearly emerges: the imperative for coordinated action at international level. Plenary 1 shed light on the multiple factors contributing to teacher shortages, emphasizing the need for innovative solutions to attract, to recruit, and retain educators, which is not the case, with a few exceptions, in many countries. I'm looking at the outstanding representative of Finland, which has a lot to say and to share with us, but also other countries, including South Africa, are making big efforts to make the profession, once again, the transformative engine of education systems. There was a focus still on competitive salaries. Not everything is about money, but money can help, let's say, in a simple way. And if you want to recognize your profession as a social, prestigious, crucial function in society, this has to correspond to the right recognition in terms of salaries as well. Better working conditions. This is something where Education International is very much contributing to the debate, and we are very much keen to develop this part of the agenda. Of course, target recruitment approaches and the necessity of providing appropriate, adequate support to teachers in emergency. Teaching in Gaza today is not the same than teaching in a classroom wherever in the world. And this is something that must be part of the agenda. Well, other topics have been very much well described and defined in other plenaries. That number 2 underscore the significance of policies for teacher professionalizations. I stress a lot, also in our bilateral conversation, Madam Minister, the importance of training as a mandatory part of the job description, as a responsibility of government to provide training for their teacher constituency. And the discussion which follow explore many various aspects, including strategy for teacher recruitment and lifelong learning opportunities, and last but not least, the integration of technology. Technology is part of the future of education, dear colleagues, whatever we think about it. Technology is part of our life already and must be, should be, the leapfrog to jump to the future if and only if we'll be able to drive technology based on the humanistic vision, human-centered approach, ethical principles, as UNESCO is clearly promoting and advocating for, not only in education. Lastly, plenary 3 emphasized the need to continue to advocate for making teachers the core of transformative policies, as they are the transformative component of learning and education. And that's where we stand. And that's the second S that I think we have to bring out of this building, out of this country, and to make our common message to the summit of the future, which is a great opportunity to reshape also the 17 objectives through education, where education has to find its own game changers, and teachers are for sure on the front line on this. Well, I'm greatly encouraged, as I think you are, by the spirit of frank discussion and collaboration and determination that has defined our sessions here. But then it's about the third S. And there where problems come if we don't have a clear action plan. But luckily, I would say, the recommendation of the UN Secretary General high-level panel on the teaching profession served to us as a clear S about solution, about the possibility we have finally to provide the international community with concrete solutions. Many of these recommendations, as we all know, are targeted for international action, outlining concrete steps for promoting the professionalization, once again, of the teaching workforce, ensuring adequate support for teachers in crisis-affected contexts, and everything that is very much aligned also with the takeaways of the global report and our discussion here. But what is more important, let me say, is that, in my opinion, we take very seriously the third S of this agenda. And we now move in the coming days, in the coming months, to at least 3 key actions to take. And let me mention from the UNESCO perspective, and then I'm pretty sure that the 2 co-chairs of the Teachers Task Force will complement with their vision. First, starting this year, we will explore the feasibility of adopting an up-to-date international instrument on the teaching profession. This is very important. Norms, laws, guidance are not concrete, tangible, let's say, solutions, but they can very much influence, inspire the national policies. And the more we'll be able to update the standards, the more we'll be able to influence things happening at country level. And this is about not reinventing the wheel. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, let's say, colleagues, anytime. It's about building on the revision of existing standards and tools, including the joint ILO-UNESCO recommendation concerning the teaching profession, which goes back to the 90s. So it's really time to change. We are in a different century, we are in a different context, and the international landscape changes so much and so fast. Second, this year, already mentioned, the African Union Year for Education marks the beginning of a regional teacher initiative for Africa. This is a concrete action on the ground. This is funded, as you may know, by the European Commission. We are very grateful to EU, and this alliance, EU-AU, can really be a big game changer. And in this, UNESCO is a proud partner. You can count on us, but still, it's a collective effort. And this must, Madam Minister, we just discussed bilaterally, include crucially the role of digital transformation. I think that this can really be the leapfrog when it comes to national policies and making appropriate teachers, support for the change we need. Third, we shall continue, of course, in valorizing the teaching profession through the Transforming Education Summit follow-up. I already mentioned at the beginning of this conference 2 crucial steps. This year, the Pact of the Future. Let's say there is no future without education. There is no quality education without qualified and motivated teachers. So we are still there. It's a question of influencing strongly the language of the outcome document now. From now to May, you can go kindly back to your capitals, ring the bell of your ministers of education for sure, but also foreign affairs, because this is a very much a political business. And sometimes when we shift from important policies like health, education to the hard politics, something is getting lost. So we must not lose the message which comes from this room. Well, I think that we are ready if we do more or less what we are convinced we have to do here from the end of this year to the social summit to make real education the big priority in the next phase of 2030 agenda, and by 2030 being able to be accountable on concrete results and changes. For all of these, we need, cooperation, solidarity, share values and data and knowledge, but we mostly need political will. So this brings me to my last point, Madam Minister. I wish really to take this opportunity to thank you for your great leadership throughout this process. You and your country, from the highest level of the government, we had the honor to be with the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa. It's not obvious, and we are very, very grateful for that. But also, my sincere thanks go to member states like France, Germany, Norway, and the European Union for their great continuous support and financial backing, which made also this event possible. I also express sincere thanks to the Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum Foundation for Medical and Educational Sciences for generously supporting the Teachers Task Force and the publication of the Global Report on Teachers. So the Teachers Task Force came to Johannesburg, with a lot of reputation, a lot of commitment, and a lot of responsibility. I would say, honorable co-chairs, we are getting out from this room, from these 3 days, even stronger, even more committed, and even more responsible for the 3S, see, stand, and solve. Thank you so much, and thank you for your...
Thank you very much to our Assistant Director General for Education, Madame Stefania Giannini, for this provoking and hope-provoking thoughts. Thank you very much indeed. Now, let me turn to Ms. Heike Kuhn. She is, as you know, head of the Education Division at the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ, but she's also the DTF co-chair and ECW Executive Committee co-chair from Germany. Heike, the floor is yours.
Good morning, bonjour, buenos dias, sabah al khair. So, Excellency Minister Matsie Motshekga from South Africa, ADG Stefania Giannini from UNESCO. Carlos has already introduced me. I'm a co-chair of the TTF because my country, Germany, believes in teaching and in the profession of teachers and in education. And you have seen I'm also a co-chair of the Education Cannot Wait Fund from the Executive Committee, and I will come to this also on the conflict crisis. So this is important, and my minister could sign this very good report we were talking about with the Honorable Minister, with the Excellency Motshekga. Unfortunately, she could not be here, but I'm here in the African Year of Education just launched by the African Union. So arriving here, the lift of this hotel where I'm living, it says, "What's hot and happening?" Then I was thinking, let us see what the PDF brings, because it's my first PDF, I have to confess, having worked during Corona times so good with Carlos, with the whole team, with Enoch. So what I have learned here, the PDF is a well-organized forum. I learned a lot, and I have heard the voices from others who did the same. The status of teachers is difficult. We have a lack of this. But we have seen also solutions, because if there's a problem, there are also solutions around. For instance, I was most impressed by Ghana, who set powerful examples. If you're the best teacher in the country, I learned you can even get a house. So if this is incentivizing, but others also, we understand that in many countries, Fatou has shown is this is also a gender issue. In many countries like my own, the primary education is mostly served by women. Sometimes you need also male role models. From Uganda, teachers has changed. Finland has also leadership training, and we heard many voices. Teachers are leaders, teachers are prophets. Fatou just said it. There was a powerful voice from the youth. Listen to the young ones and also the teachers. Nothing about teachers without teachers. This should be there from everywhere. As Germany, I also listened very much because we do a lot of TVET, because we know not everybody will go to university, but everybody deserves a decent education. And with TVET, if you have practical skills, this helps a lot. And in my country, for instance, nurses, they have an examination and they are so proud of this examination. And this gives self-esteem and it gives you for living. We heard from Stefania, Giannini, and also on the IT. This is the way ahead. Coming to our host, really thank you also from Germany for this great hospitality. And since yesterday evening, I finally understand what means a gala offered by South Africa, what this is a meaning for me and others. And I learned even more how you can produce win-win situations. If your staff member in the ministry is a good singer, this is very cost efficient. This I will bring home to my country. So coming to an end with an example of a teacher in my country, Germany, 300 years ago. You may know Carl Friedrich Gauss is a famous German mathematician in the 18th century. And his mother was illiterate. So he is one of the biggest mathematicians. He brought ahead the world. And how this happened, it was a teacher who had seen there is this talent. Gauss, at the very end, he couldn't understand how others didn't understand it because for him everything was so easy. He just looked at the numbers in astronomy. So we still work on his talent. But this is about teachers. This is about agents of change. A teacher who sees there's a potential in this young person. I have to see. So coming really to the end, to the solutions, my previous speaker, she has already said we have a problem, but we shouldn't be hesitative. We need also, I learned this, maybe a new narrative. We cannot only complain there's a lack of teacher. This is also a chance for many people. For instance, in this continent, but others, there's not enough jobs. But teachers, the lack of teachers is a chance for many young persons to become a teacher. So it's our task. I will take this back. For instance, for teachers, for learning, for sustainable development. We speak a lot in my country, training for and education to cope with the climate crisis, also for TVET. So this is what I will take back to my country. Teachers are like prophets. I think we are on the right way. It's very good to work with you. I'm looking forward, and let's seize of the momentum. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Heike Kuhn, for your words and for the commitment as well. So last but not least, I have the pleasure to introduce Madam Matsie Angelina Motshekga, Minister of Basic Education, and our host in South Africa for her final remarks. Please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Mr. Carlos. But also let me acknowledge again our Assistant Director General of UNESCO, Mr. Stefania, the Deputy Minister of Ecuador. I saw her again this morning. Oh, there she is. AU Commissioner also. Acknowledge the delegation from UNESCO, members of the Teacher Task Force 2030, members of the Education International also who blessed us with their presence, our Director General for Department of Education in the country, the principals of our teacher unions that are present, distinguished guests, and yesterday I also wanted to acknowledge teacher number one of the world. There's teacher number one of the world. When we look at the videos, because I had the privilege of being in Paris when she really was acknowledged. It was such a tough one. And at some stage, I didn't know who, because all the top 10 were best. But indeed, she was the best of the best. And thank you very much for attending. We also have our continental number one, but now it's an international conference. We acknowledge number one of the world. Program Director, our Department of Basic Education and Training. Again, we repeat, we're very grateful to the International Task Force for Education 2030 under the auspice of UNESCO for entrusting us to co-host this dialogue. So thank you very much for that acknowledgement. We also want to thank the United Nations Secretary General for agreeing to launch the report of the high-level panel in South Africa at this forum. We do feel honored as a country for being recognized as a platform for initiating this global alliance to transform our education systems. We want to appreciate the opportunity that has been offered us as a country to participate also in the high-level panel. And indeed, we continue to commit ourselves to global platforms, as I said, to the AD, that they also help us a lot in shaping our own policies and guide and inform us. So we do really commit ourselves to these global platforms that we participate in, but also have an opportunity to occupy. And we undertake to use the same platforms to address the challenges and recommendations emanating from a global report on teacher shortages. The deliberations of the past 2 days, as I say, we're taking copious notes, are going to continue to assist us as a country to reflect on our state of our own education system, as well as the commitments we've made regarding the status of teachers and teaching profession. Our education reform agenda has always been driven by commitments to UNESCO. Indeed, AD, when we make plans, we have to indicate how the plans relate to UNESCO, how they relate to the AU, and then how our plans align to that. So they always help us to shape our own plans, policies, and programs. So as I say, we have continued to have a commitment to UNESCO and the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights and international legal instruments which affirm the right of every child to quality education. It is for this reason that this right has been also enshrined in our Constitution. We've also committed ourselves to the 1966 UNESCO ILO recommendations concerning the status of teachers and have supported the recommendations from the high-level panel that these recommendations be turned into a more binding legal framework. As part of our immediate action post this forum, our ministry will be hosting our own annual basic education sector, and I do hope, DG, that we've invited, I know AU is speaking at the forum, and it will be virtual, and it will be, I think we'll appreciate if people can't travel to the conference, also link up to the conference, and we'll share the details of this education basic Lekgotla, which we hold annually with our stakeholders, with our teachers, with our unions, but also with academics all over the world, again, to enrich the work that we do as a country. So this Lekgotla does provide us with the opportunity to reflect on deliberations and recommendations emanating to help us from this forum, and as well as to reflect on the implications of the two reports in terms of our education agenda. It will be an opportunity to map out our own agenda in terms of how we are going to celebrate also the 2024 as a year of education, because again, the AU will be on the agenda and high on the agenda. I've requested DG to say, don't make them number 3, make them number 2, because really it's been very exciting for us to have AU declaring this year the year of education. We thought it was a great honor and we really want to exploit or harvest it as much as possible. We also want once more to thank UNESCO for identifying our country as one of the countries identified for collaboration in terms of digital transformation collaborative, which is aimed at taking forward the recommendations of the 2023 Global Education Monitoring Report. For that, we are also grateful. We have noted the deliberations of the forum regarding the use of technology in education. We're also very grateful to our regional bloc who have recommended us as a country to serve a second term in the steering committee, as well as the co-chair of the task force. As we are aware, South Africa will be assuming the chair of G20 in 2025 after Brazil. And one of the key areas of focus during our tenure will be on education. We pledge to use the opportunity as the chair of the G20 to raise awareness around these two reports and mobilize countries to put in place programs of action to implement recommendations in the two reports. So in conclusion, Chair, I want once more to take this opportunity to thank you for gracing us with your presence in our country. We want to thank the Deputy Minister of Ecuador. Thank you very much for staying that long with us. We also most sincerely, Chair, want to really thank the Assistant Director General from UNESCO. You see, when they said the president is not coming, I said, hey, there's no way presidency won't come. I'll be very embarrassed. So President, delegate your deputy. I can't have an AD coming to my country and don't have the presidency present. Thank you very much for coming to us. And thank you for staying also through the conference. I want to thank the African Commissioner, to say the Deputy Minister of Ghana was left, and the President of Education International for the attendance. I wish to acknowledge the attendance of our partners in the country, the EDTP sector, which helps us with development in the education sector, SACE, which is our South African Council of Educators, the ELRC, I also saw the CEO, which is our Education Labor Relations Council, the NECT also, which is one of our big partners, mobilizing business professionals and NGOs. It's our National Education Collaboration Trust, as well as the leadership of our teacher unions. I saw a number of them. So we do appreciate the attendance of our teachers. I saw them in the different regalia, so you can't miss them. And agree with the sentiments expressed in the forum that there should be nothing for teachers without teachers. I also want to acknowledge and appreciate the following partners for their support in enabling us to host this forum. As I said, Chair, we are under serious austerity measures, so very serious, to be honest. And I'm glad I said to DG, when you host, don't show that we have austerity measures, no austerity measures. Try what we can. But I really want to thank the Department of Higher Education and Science and Innovation, the EDTP SITA also, Mureki, they also help us to sponsor. Mureki is the buyer also. So you respect the buyer. So I saw the CEO, UNICEF, thank you very much also for the ongoing support that we enjoy during the time we've been outside. There have been lots of programs that we've been working with you, and I have been receiving reports. The VVOB South Africa also, thank you very much for the ongoing support. The AIDS Foundation to enable enterprises, and I hope DG have not missed anyone, then you say, we were not acknowledged, but when you wanted money, you came running. And I want to thank you, DG, and the team that organized. And it's me not saying for an excellent job in logistics, and I hope if there was any inconvenience, we will be forgiven. And I hope you do enjoy your trip to the Apartheid Museum, and wish everybody safe travels as you go back home, and wish to see you back to explore our country further. As I said, Sandton is not the best choice for me because it's like your own cities. Next time I want to take you to the bush and get you to feel South Africa. So please come back. I promise I'll take you to a bush not very far from Gauteng and make you have a feel of the African jungle, that who we are. But thank you very much for coming and safe travel.
Thank you very much, Minister Motshekga. Thank you very much, Assistant Director General for Education of UNESCO, Mrs. Stefania Giannini, and also our co-chair of the Teacher Task Force from Germany, Madam Heike Kuhn. With this, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we get to the end of a very, very fruitful event. We're very happy and very grateful for your participation, for your collaboration. As has been mentioned by our leadership, we have, I think we are in a very unique moment in history. Never have we had so many elements at hand to act upon. We have the high-level panel recommendations on the teaching profession. So we have the what, an agreement of what we can do to transform the profession. We have the global report on teachers, which gives us the how we can transform. And the Policy Dialogue Forum has given us the with whom, the partnerships to transform the profession. So I just wanted to thank again our host country, our leadership at UNESCO, at the TTF, the steering committee meeting, and everybody else who made this possible. Thank you very much. And no, I'm not singing, no. But just one announcement, sorry, that our hosts have kindly shared. Thank you, Enoch, I forgot. We have, the buses will be in front of the hotel at 12:30 for the outing to the Apartheid Museum. The buses are leaving at 1 o'clock on the dot. We don't want to leave anyone behind, you know, that is our motto. So please be there if you want to join. Thank you.